Well, howdy there, guys. This is your Untitled Chapter. Thanks for checking out my video. Welcome aboard and welcome to Payoff Pitch Baseball. This isn't just regular Payoff Pitch Baseball. This is my super advanced version of Payoff Pitch Baseball. Just to give you guys a heads up, if you're looking for a game, we are not going to be doing that in this video. But basically, I just want to let you know if you're watching this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of the changes that we've been making and talk about some new additions and how things are getting set up for our payoff pitch baseball. And I decided to do this offline to make it a little easier for you guys to check out this video if you're interested. Again, we're not going to have any actual gameplay per se for the next game coming up. That's going to be the next video, which I'm going to upload right after this one because we're going to play the game. We're going to use our rules and everything like that. So what's new and what's ready to go? All right, well, let's talk about the Super Advanced. So if you're not familiar with Super Advanced Payoff Pitch Baseball, that's basically my version of Payoff Pitch Baseball that takes the runner advancement rules and the ground out rules and the fly out rules and kind of make them a little more interesting and base the results on the player's stats. So if we look at a single here, first thing I did is I redid every one of my sheets here. Every single one of them has been redone. And what I did was I color coded them all the same way. And I'm using the exact same thing on every chart. So it's either going to be shallow, normal, and deep, or it's going to be if we look at ground out, it's going to be slow, normal, and hard. All right, so first things first, if you're watching this video, thanks for checking it out. Basically, what I've done is I've just taken the information from Payoff Pitch, and I've used that as my baseline, as my standard. So, for example, a normal 7, which is the average player rating, run rating, I've taken what's inside the game and I've basically put that information in there. So those players that have a higher chance, or I'm sorry, a higher stat of running have a slightly better chance of advancing bases or whatever. And those players with the slower stats are going to be obviously a slightly less chance of advancing bases on singles, etc. And then I've also incorporated obviously important things like where was the ball hit? Was it hit shallow? Was it normal? Was it deep? So when we're talking about a runner going from first to third, obviously, on a shallow ball, they're going to have a slightly less chance than a normal. And on a deep ball, they're going to have a slightly greater chance than normal. And of course, we have two different charts, one based on runner going from first to third, and one going from second to home. So again, I haven't really changed on the rules. I've just kind of incorporated the base rules into the game and then kind of expanded upon them based upon player stats. So you're either going to get a base or you're going to have a chance at an extra base, which is this 1+ base, and or you're going to take 2 bases based upon the different dice rules. So you're going to use your percentile dice. You're going to find out where it was hit in left field, center field, right field, or if you're a righty, you're going to hit it in the left field, or left field, you're going to hit a right field on a 0. And then the depth, either shallow, normal, or deep. You're going to use the charts. There are a few stats that might be, or adjustments to the dice roll. So obviously when a runner is going from first and trying to get to third base, a ball hit into left field is going to make it a lot more harder than a ball hit in the right field. So basically, a ball hit in the left field, you're going to get a -1 in the dice roll. A ball hit in the right field, you're going to get a +1 in the dice roll. So that's pretty simple there. If we go down to the double, it's basically the same thing. You're going to roll the percentile dice, find out where it was hit, and then basically for flavor, if it was in the gap, it was a deep drive off the wall, and then I've also incorporated an over a wall, which means the ball bounced out of play and it's a ground rule double. And then of course you're going to roll on the chart based upon the player's speed. Anytime they have a chance at an extra base, what we're doing is we're incorporating the outfielder's arm in this case. So the standard, this chart, it should be very familiar if you're familiar with Payoff Pitch because this is the standard chart that comes with the game. And there's actually a lower stat number on outfield arm is better. So you're going to notice as you get better and better arms, the chance of them getting safe is slightly lower, slightly lower, slightly lower. And if you have a worse arm, it's going to get slightly higher, and slightly higher. So these players, when you have a chance to go from, you know, you have a chance at one base, you can look and see who's got the ball, and it's going to take into consideration the outfielder's arm. So we're using player stats to kind of dictate and also where the ball is hit. It's going to obviously slow the game down a little bit because you're going to have a couple extra dice rolls. You're going to have to look at a couple extra charts. But I think because of the flavor and intrigue it brings into the game, it should actually make the game a little more flavorful and interesting, I guess. Same thing with ground outs and fly outs. You're either going to stay or you're going to try to advance or you're going to advance. And a try to advance, again, you're going to use the arm chart. And then the same thing with ground outs, although because infielders don't have an arm rating, I'm just using an arm of 7, which is the standard, which comes in the game. This is the built-in chart in the game. So anything on the uh, any ground out, we'll just use that says arm 7. It's going to be just a roll on the regular chart, just like normal. So since the infielders don't have any arm stat. And of course, basically, when you're talking about a ground out, if it's a slow roller, or hit normal or hit hard, it's going to give you a different chance. So again, your baseline here of 7, ability to run, your run rating, and obviously if it's hit slow, it's a slow roller, the infield's got to charge in and kind of grab the ball. It's going to give you a slightly better chance to advance from second to third or from third to home. And if the ball's hit really hard, obviously it's going to be a little bit easier to or it's going to be a little easier for them to hold you. It's going to be harder for you to advance from second to third or third to home because the ball was hit hard. So in this case, the hard hit ball is going to actually be a deficit. And of course, same thing when we're talking about a runner going from second to third. Location, 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 as they like to say. So a ball hit to second or first is going to give you a +1 on the dice roll because it's going to be a little bit easier, obviously, if it's hit on the right side. And a ball hit to third or shortstop is going to give you a -1 on the dice roll because it's going to be harder because it's hit to the side you're trying to advance on. That's not going to come into play at all when we're talking about third or home because location, 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 left or right doesn't matter. What matters for this is obviously a ball hit to the catcher or one that's right by the plate is going to give you a -1. And also if the infield is playing in, you're going to get a -1. So obviously if they're playing you to try to advance in and you don't get the ball hit very far, then obviously it's going to be a slightly less chance for you to advance. Same thing with a fly out. When we're talking about a runner in second, go and trying to advance to third. We got the lefty righty. If it's hit the left field, -1. Hit the right field, it's a +1. And the better your run rating, the better chance you have. And of course, if it's hit shallow, normal, or deep, same thing on all of these charts, shallow, normal, or deep. A ball hit to shallow, or a ball hit to shallow is going to be harder to advance because the ball's not hit as far. Deep, obviously, better chance because it's hit deep, right? Kind of makes sense, everything we talked about. So again, just extra charts to give a little bit more flavor of where the ball was hit, how hard it was hit, where, who's out there. And we're using player stats that are going to drive the mechanic behind the game, whether or not we're using the base charts. So obviously, if you got a little bit better stats, you'll have a little bit better chance. And if you don't have as good as stats, not quite as good a chance. Same thing with the arm rating on the outside. And like I said, because of infielders not having an arm rating, we're just going to go with the standard chance of a roll here on the arm chart. So that's pretty much it. You're going to see this when we actually play the next game. We've actually had a couple videos with this, but I think I wanted to separate this off a little bit and just talk about some of the new and interesting things that we're doing here to make things run smoother and faster and easier. And for those people that might be looking to do something similar, like I'm doing on the computer for maybe another game, it might give you some ideas about things. Maybe not, but that's what this video is for. You can either choose to watch it or not, I guess. So that's pretty much the charts. It's just going to be the fly out, the ground out chart, uh, double when the player hits a double. We have an arm chart. Again, this is right out of the rule book. And of course, a single, whether or not the runner is going to make it from first to third and second to home. And just to give it a little bit more interest of where it was hit and how deep it was hit and all that fun stuff. All right, so that was that. Let's see. So yeah, I mean, instead of just rolling on a generic chart, which doesn't take into consideration the player's stats or location or anything like that, which is fine. I mean, the game is just great the way it is. It's just, for me, I would like to have a little bit more information. I would rather spend the extra time because obviously base running is ultra important. So, I would like to have that extra time to make some decisions and use player stats to determine what's going to happen. So that's the super advanced rules so far. We're probably going to look at a couple more of the rules as we go along and play some more of these games. Obviously, the one thing I do like, very well done inside the game, is the defensive range and error charts. And you can see there's the whole page on different, out charts, there's hit charts, there's error charts, glossaries, and everything else. So this is well fleshed out compared to, when you look at something just like a ground out or a fly out. So that's just my own personal opinion. I just wanted to have a little bit more. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm just taking this chart and I'm kind of expanding them and making them into more of a multi-chart like this is what I'm doing. The steel rating is pretty good so far. I do have a couple other charts that we may or may not be using, but um, that's up for. I'm going to try out a few of them, and we're going to see how they go, and alter them, and we'll see. So, all right. So that's the charts wise. So the other thing that I've done, and I've been kind of one of the bad things about this ball score is obviously I've been having a little bit of issue with it, and I've been practicing with it and trying to do things like double switches and different air ratings. It's if it's an easy play, strikeout, a fly ball in the left field, a double or whatever, those we can cruise through those. It's the ones that come up that don't actually happen all the time. That's a little bit of problems. The game's not as intuitive as I would have liked, but one thing that did help was there's actually an update on the Ball Stat website. Let's see if I can bring this information up for you guys here. So I downloaded the complete package here, blah, 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 blah. But I didn't download this new update, which takes it to version 11.0813. And I think that's actually helped out with some of the issues that I was having, specifically with a few problems with base running and all that. So the other thing I've actually done is I've gone into the preferences and I've changed some of the preferences. So the important ones for me, and I'm just showing you this because if you plan on using Ball Stat, maybe you might be interested to know. One of the issues I was having was actually getting our error ratings and our important numbers in there. So I don't need to keep looking them up on, in the PDFs. So I can quickly look at them and I can say, oh, B3, 7C, 7. This is a C5, 7B, and I'll talk about what these represent here in just a minute. So what I ended up doing was going into the RML, and with the update, this changes a little bit in that the ratings here um, actually will allow you to put things in. So what I ended up doing was they have all these really cool, nice little things you can add in, and you can put all your different numbers and all that. The problem with that is when you have multiple of them, what happens is they start coming over and they will actually just cover up whatever's here in this box. And so you won't know what position they play, and it'll actually go off into the next zone and everything. So what I ended up doing was just taking the 5 or 6 stats that we really, really need to have, and I combined them into like little categories. And the one thing I did do was go into the properties, and I wanted to make this section as big as possible. It's not like I can click like Word where you can click on this and drag it over to make this box bigger. So I made that box as big as I can possibly make it, which happens to be right here, the font cells. I took it to 6 per cell width, and which is super wide, and scoring cells width per pixels at 78. So that makes it as big as I can possibly make it, um, for that. I also changed, you can go in and change the default font size. You can make the font, smaller, but I didn't need to after I decided just to use a couple of our stats there. So, yeah, okay, yeah, we didn't make any changes, so we don't need to worry about that. All right, so let's look at the Philadelphia Phillies here. And I'll kind of show you what we're doing here if we just look at Ben Revere as kind of an example here. So the important stats are going to be all the things that are used really commonly in the game. That being the range, because of our defensive chart. Whenever we use our defensive chart, we use range and error rating. So those two go together. So the first one is the range. And the second number, oops, let's go back to Ben Revere here. So you can see here his range is a B, his error is a 3, so it's B3. So range, then error, range, then error. Then the next most important number for us, and a lot that has to do with what we're doing with our charts, is obviously the base running speed, your run rating. So that is ultra, ultra important because all the charts are based upon how fast you are on the bases, right? So the run rating is a 7. And to go along with that, obviously, when you're running and around the bases and stuff, is your steal rating, which happens to be a C. So you can see Ben Revere here is a 7C. So it's range, error, run, and steal. And then the last number is another ultra important one for us, and that happens to be the arm rating, because when we use our charts, we're going to need to know what the outfielder's arm ratings are. Obviously, those players that don't have an arm rating won't have a stat there. So you can see Ben Revere has an arm rating of 7. So it's going to be range, then error, then it's going to be run rating, then it's going to be steal rating, then it's going to be his arm rating. And I can tell right away, just by looking down the list, who our outfielders are and who our catcher is. Because of the arm rating as the third stat on it, and it's by itself. So the players with only 2 stats in parentheses, like Ryan Howard, I know he doesn't have an arm rating. Chase Utley doesn't have an arm rating. The only ones that have an arm rating, Ben Revere, Dominic Brown, Lance Nix, and Eric Kratz. And then I can see Eric Kratz is going to be the catcher. So it's easy for me to have all that information quickly and easily. Not only was I able to do that, but what I ended up doing, obviously, because we got 2 teams playing, was I ended up just taking a screenshot of this and combining both teams into one thing. And I can actually have this on my other monitor. I'm just going to drag it over. So I have all the stats over here on my other monitor. So I don't need to, if I'm looking for, what's the Atlanta Braves center fielder arm? I don't need to flip over and back and forth because I've got that now on my second screen over here, and I have all that data that I can quickly and easily use without having to look it up, or more importantly, slowing things down by clicking through and scrolling up and down on the charts to look for numbers and stuff. So I've got the numbers out there. Um, and the good thing is now that these guys have their stats, if I use them again, the stats will automatically be there. I'm assuming, I'm hoping anyways. Um, and we'll be able to, use them for the next game. So, it's going to take a little bit extra time to enter all that information into the actual ball score program by going into the ratings here. And there might be different ways to do it. I don't know. And all I did was just put the players that are currently in this game. I didn't go through and do every single player on their team. I just I'm trying things out before I spend a lot of time just doing that. And it's pretty pretty quick and easy actually. If we just scroll this up a little bit, I'll show you how easy it is. Um, so we have, hopefully we have, yeah. All right. So who do we have? We have Delvin Young there. So let's scroll down to Delvin Young. I can just look here and I can see that he's a B2. And oops, that's B2. And then my cap walks on. And I would normally, if I'm doing this, without, I would just have my other screen. I would use my other screen and I would be able to see, okay, Delvin Young is a B2. He's also a 5D, and he's got an arm rating of 7. And John Mayberry, where is he on the list? See, this is what takes a long time in the game. So John Mayberry, depends what position he's playing actually. So, we'll just put him down as a D3, and he's got a 7C, and he's got an arm rating of 8, pretty much across the board. So there we go. I can save and close that out, and hopefully it'll save all the information. I can say okay. So if I bring these players in, poof, they'll pop in there. And I think what I'm going to just do is as I use a player, I'm just going to, because you see how easy it is, pretty quickly and easy. The cool thing is, if I slide this back over, is all the information that I'm using in categories together, B3, are right next to one another. So the B3, well, actually, we just did, well, it doesn't matter who we did, but Ben Revere, we're using him as an example. B3, right next to one another. 7C, right next to one another. And then, of course, I just have to look up at the arm rating, if they have one, and put the arm rating in. So it doesn't take me too long to do that, and I'm able to just put that information in, and now I've got it. And then, like I said, I'm able to just have this on my other screen. I have it up, and I can just look over there if I happen to need some information on one of the players or one of their stats. And so I can say, oh, this guy, he's got a chance of going first to third, but we have to look at the center fielder's arm rating. I can say, okay, that's a 7, right? And then I know on my chart here, the arm rating for 7 is pretty much the standard. You got about a 45% chance of being safe. You got a 35% chance of being out, and then you have a chance of a wild and a chance of a drop, et cetera, et cetera. So I can look and I can say, oh, okay, well, obviously anybody less than 7 is going to be very harder. It's going to be harder to advance on. So before the game, I can actually look and say, okay, this guy's got a 7, and Dominic Brown in left field's got a 4. So he's got a really, really good stat. So if it's hit to left field, probably not going to go, because if we look at a 4 here, we're only safe 70, 80, 90. So about 30% of the time, we're safe on a 30% of the time, as opposed to 45% of the time. So I can, boy, okay, so left field, I'm not going to go on I'm not going to try to advance when it's hit to left. In right field, it's a 7, and in center field is a 7. So left field, I can know, okay, that's going to be my trouble spot if I'm going to try to advance. Same thing over here. I can look at right field's a 5. Ooh, that's really good. Left field's a 5. Ooh, boy, Really good. Center field's a 7. So I know, okay, Melvin Upton's average, okay, but the other guys are going to be a little more difficult to advance on. And then, of course, when we start the game, I can look at the catchers and say, oh, he's got a 3 rating. All right, so let's look at our steal rating on a 3. So B3s are going to be here, A3s. So you need at least a C to be average. So if you got anything higher than a C, you got an above average chance of stealing the base. Same thing. I can do the same thing with the visitors. He's got a rating of 4, which is even worse. So a lot of stolen bases here. So you can see the 4s. Actually, 4s are 3, A3, A4. Okay, so 4s, actually that is going to be better, actually. Higher is better. Okay, I wasn't 100% sure about that, but higher is better, which is a little weird because with the outfielders, it's lower is better. So I wish these game companies or designers of games would get it through their heads that use one way or the other. It makes it a lot easier. Low is better or higher is better. One way or the other. So anyways, with the stats, I got my little, pitcher over here, and was able to open this up a little bit, make it a little bit easier for me to be able to see all the information. And like I said, putting these in there was um, doing double switches. I was practicing today doing a double switch. Moving the pitcher to here and bringing in a pinch hitter here. I think I've worked around. If we actually go in the help book, and I will actually contents here. So if we go to ball score, and we go to inserting substitutions, and we go to double switches here, it says here. Double switches. When making a double switch, always insert the defensive player first by clicking the double switch button or by pressing Alt-I. Well, let me tell you, that doesn't work. Because if I hit Alt-I, you will see what happens. It brings up the innings menu here, right there. And there is no button for double switch that I can find anywhere. I've checked every single one of these buttons. So obviously the help manual did not get updated with everything else that's been updated in the game, which is fine. So I just had to find a way around it. So we're going to select the player to insert defensively, blah, 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 blah. We're going to hopefully, if we have to make a double switch or something, we'll be able to do that without crashing the game or whatever. I also found this wonderful button here, undo the last action button, which is a big help because you actually go back and undo things until you do get it right. So it's not, this is like the ultra important button. I don't know, they should have this like, I don't know, on the end or something so it's very easy to get to because that's like an ultra important button that you can use. Anyways, so those are the changes we did to ball score. And I think, we talked with a couple of our viewers yesterday. Higher Ground Gaming happened to be on with Al, Red Sox fan, and they were watching the game live and giving me, maybe you should use a different program or whatever because they saw the issues I was having. And it's not so much issues, it's just not knowing what to do, like when weird situations come up. Like, I just can't think of something off the top of my head, but when weird situations come up, it's like, okay, how do we handle that? So now that I know we got to undo it, we could try it. If it doesn't work, undo it. And so that's what I was doing. I was inserting players and then taking them out. So yeah. Anyways. All right, so that's going to be super advanced. I'm hoping it's going to run really, really smoothly and quickly, especially since I'm doing it offline. I can now use my second monitor to actually I can actually use my monitor. I've got the game that I'm replicating here on my other monitor as well, so I can see the lineups here. I also have my lineup card here with all my stats on it on my other monitor. When I'm running a game live, it's a little bit more difficult because I have to have my chat window open, I have to have my recording software open, I have to have my broadcast, you know, um, so there's like two or three things on my other screen that I just don't have room for everything. So I think our setup is working well with our different, boom boom. Basically, the only thing I have to do ahead of time is take each of the pictures and make their own special little card off of the PDF, and then just have all my different PDFs loaded up here in case I needed to check something. Here's our advanced, super advanced rules. And then since we use these charts a lot, the stealing, and the defense charts, I made a specific PDF just for them so I can see them. Not sure why it got, oh, there we go. Since we use these charts all the time, I don't like to have to keep scrolling up and down on this and, trying to find each one of them and all that. So to make things, again, a little bit faster, I'm just trying to find things that are going to make the game run faster and smoother. I'm not trying to race through this like ultra fast. Obviously, I'm not trying to do that. That's because I've added all this extra stuff that's going to slow it down. But what I want to do is I want to make it flow smoothly for you guys so you can see what's going on and you can see when we're talking about doing certain things, you can see the stats really quickly and easily, and instead of having me scroll up and down. It's hard enough scrolling up and down on this just to get to the players. So I don't want to take extra time to do other scrolling if possible. So that's, I think, about all the super cool changes. Like I said, I think our setup's working pretty good. I could keep this ball score on the other side, but then you don't get to see it. And I think I could just say, oh well, Ben Revere's come up. He's first time up he had a single, second time up he struck out. I don't know, would people like to see this information? Because if not, I can keep this on my other screen. I just figure it'd be easier to have it on here. I can put the information in. You can see the lineups. You can I can I don't know, just make better decisions. Who knows? But let's see. That looks a little small, doesn't it? But why is it not full screen? See, if I make it full screen, yeah, it just doesn't want to do it. Ugh. All right. Well, we're just gonna have to keep them that size. Hopefully, it's big enough for you guys to actually see the numbers and stuff. So yeah, that's our setup. I hopefully you guys enjoy the super advanced rules. I think, like I said, I think it's going to be pretty interesting. So a player hits a single, normal, shallow, deep. The runner is a 7. If it's normal, he's going to just have a normal chance. Shallow, he's going to have just a slightly less chance. You can see basically the differences. Instead of an automatic second base, he goes to a 1+ base. He has to roll on the arm chart if he wants to go for it. And conversely, over here, you get 2 chances to try and make it a second base as opposed to just 1 chance. And it's basically that way all the way across the board. And that's for every single chart we have. Fly out chart, the ground out chart. The double chart, there's not much to it other than finding out if a runner on first can go all the way home or if he stops at third base. So, and of course, the arm charts obviously altered based upon better throwers, the lower numbers, get a better chance of throwing you out. Higher numbers, which are worse arms, having less chance of throwing you out. So you can use your opponent's advantages and disadvantages against them. So as we already seen here in looking at the differences between Atlanta and Philadelphia, Atlanta's got 2 really well-armed outfielders. Jason Hayward in right and Justin Upton in left are both 5s. So on a 5, you're only going to be safe let's see, 65, 75, 85, 95. That's what is that? 35% of the time, as opposed to 45% of the time. So you lose about 10% just by going down these couple numbers. So now you have to think about. So in Philadelphia, when every time they get a chance, every time they get a chance that has a plus base, do they want to take a chance against their right fielder and left fielder? So that's going to make the game a little more interesting, as opposed to just rolling on, a generic chart. Now, with that said, again, I don't have any problems with these charts because payoff pitch is meant to be played fast and quick. Look at a chart, roll the dice. Look at a chart, roll the dice, move on to the next guy. And you can get a game done really, really quickly with the cards and dice version. And I'm just trying to incorporate that obviously on the computer, which takes it a little bit more time and it's a little bit harder to try and implement a decent and satisfying game style, I guess is the best way to kind of phrase that. Well, if you come back in the next episode, we're going to have a game from April 4th, 2013. This is game number 3, Philadelphia Phillies at Atlanta Braves. In our replay so far, the Phillies have beat the Braves both times. They are 2-0 against Atlanta. So we're going to come back and play another game, obviously using our super advanced rules, and we'll be able to. We're using the historic lineups and all that stuff from all that, and we'll get to see everything flowing and moving in order. So hopefully you'll join us for that episode. Leave your thoughts, your comments, your suggestions. If you have see anything that you think might be interesting. Again, I am not saying that I am a ball score expert at all. I'm no. But uh, I've only had the program like 3 or 4 days now. But I've been messing around with it, and we're getting better, and things are getting better to input and figure out and change and alter and all that fancy dancy stuff. And having these stats, I think, is going to be a big help for me on the other screen. So I can quickly look over there and I can say, okay, we're going up against Melvin Upton. He's got an arm of 7. It's going to give us about a 45% chance. I don't need to be flipping back and forth and looking at stats on the cards and everything like that. So I think that's going to be a good advantage. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. We will see you in the next episode where we have game number 3, Philadelphia Phillies and Atlanta Braves in payoff pitch, super advanced payoff pitch. We'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching.